Evening, everybody. People who have joined for this interesting panel discussion from all over the country and some probably from across or beyond the shores. It's my pleasure to actually host this very talented, panelists across the generations. When I say generations, I'm the only one probably in that other generation. But and the topic for today is career building during crisis time and post-COVID jobs and careers for management students. No better people than Mr. Gaurav, who is in Infosys, who actually doubles up as an excellent trainer and a faculty for many business schools, prestigious business schools like IIMs. We have the advantage of Mr. Gaurav coming and addressing our students at GIBS. Our pleasure, Mr. Gaurav. And then we have Nazia ma'am, who herself is a tremendous counselor and being a person with psychology background. She has seen this period of difficulty and crisis and counseled so many students, advised people on careers, and no better person than Nazia ma'am to play that role of how counselors look at this crisis. And we have our own very bright alumni in the form of Shraddha, Bharti, and Rishabh, who within no time have really taken off in their careers and come what the difficulties that the world has posed at them, they are skyrocketing. It's a pleasure to have everybody on this panel discussion. And good evening, everybody who have joined from all over the country. As I start this discussion, I thought of starting my first question to Mr. Gaurav because he's one person who's actually in Infosys, one of the biggest employers in the IT and the technology field, being a very senior corporate leader. Sir, how do you see this crisis of COVID as it completes one anniversary? We are more or less exactly at the anniversary. And what are the two or three or four lessons of last year on career building that youngsters need to take from your point of view?
Thank you so much, sir, and pleasure to be among all the panel members. Good evening, and dear audience. COVID, I strongly think, has come out as a mirror on our face, because the way we used to look at everything in the society, in our business circle, and with our stakeholders has completely changed. Now, I could definitely tell you the industry perspective, what are the key changes which have come in and which I think students should definitely incorporate. First and foremost is a lot of students believed that invest. A lot of students thought that a lot of companies which are, you can say, have asset light model. When I say asset light model, this is something also what Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, the chairman of Biocon, said, that in last few years, a lot of startups have mushroomed up which are just based on certain apps, front-end applications. We know Ola, Oyo, Zomato, and these, of course, the ones with the over $1 billion evaluation. I'm talking about even the smaller ones. Now, those gone bust during the COVID because the supply chain was impacted, the movement was restricted, mobility was in question, and all of this brought industry to a halt. And that's why one of the key learning lessons which I would like to envisage for management students over here is to invest and focus towards the core, to invest towards the R&D. And this is also something which I'm resonating the thoughts of Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, and I really liked it, that imagine if India would have been a manufacturing hub, had we got a robust supply chain, had we got a good transportation logistics taken care of, we wouldn't have to face so much problem during the lockdown. So this is my lesson number one. Lesson number two is it's very important to empathize and support the community. COVID times was not the time to oversell. It was not the time to be opportunistic. I think consumers were clearly able to differentiate between the brands which stood with the consumers, who were informing them, who were empowering them. And third, and my last lesson is all about learning. This showed us that while things will change, get restructured, revamped, it is very important to get updated, update your skills, and making abreast with the changing needs of the consumer. Well, that's how I'll summarize my learnings.
The last two learnings are something which I think are really what you call. I think the students have to take it in their learning as an important thing, because especially organizations which showed empowerment actually grew in value among the minds and hearts of individuals. And in the same way, individuals who have actually invested on learning and developing themselves have actually scored very well in this crisis period. Thank you so much, Gaurav sir. My next question is to the young rising professional Shraddha. She's in Salesforce, a company and an employer which is a lot of people must be jealous of you for such a lovely position that you are handling, Shraddha. Being associated with such a futuristic organization and a product like Salesforce, is it important for the individuals to choose the right industry or line or function, or just take whatever that comes in the way, considering the crises that we are into?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here, sir. I would say I really second Mr. Gaurav's thoughts here. As his third point was building skills, right? I would say industry and opportunity are like two sides of the same coin. If an industry is booming, there are going to be an opportunities. If you see opportunities coming, the industry is surely going to boom. So what I would say in this particular period or this time when the crisis has hit us so bad, having an opportunity in hand is a great idea. Building skills through that opportunity is something that we should look forward to. Today, you might not really get an opportunity in the industry you're looking forward to. So grab what you have in hand today, build yourself for the day when your industry opens up the opportunity which you're looking for. Vice versa, if you have an industry which you're really looking forward to get into, but the opportunity is not really right, still go for it. Build yourself until the right opportunity comes in. So I would say it is all about changing yourself and upgrading yourself. Be ready for what is going to come through. So if you ask me 2 years back, I would say yes, build yourself up for the dream which you have seen. But today, I think the dreams are drastically changing because the scenarios are not constant. We have seen industrial revolution, we have seen things changing, technologies changing, and we were at a point where we would say, okay, it has become a little bit stagnant now. But something like a virus or something like such a big thing could come in and change the entire industry. We never thought about it, right? So I would say build up your career, build up your skills for what you want to do tomorrow, and whatever you have today, just go and grab it. So I think that would be my thoughts.
Gaurav sir, agree with her? You would have seen some examples of youngsters coming in and quickly taking off with the opportunities that they got in these bad times also.
I definitely agree with Shraddha over here, but at the same time, I truly believe that industry is still looking out for right professionals with the requisite skill sets. Because generally what happens is if a profile is on offer and you are not passionate about it, it is seen the learning curve from those people is low and they quickly run out of steam. So in that sense, I would say keep an eye open. Of course, be an absorber of learning, but at the same time, have 2 or 3 areas identified within which you can choose.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Nazia ma'am, my question to you is you deal with so many young minds and a lot of young talent day in, day out. What is your take on how to mentally prepare as a fresher coming out of universities, business schools, when uncertainty is staring at their face and the whole world looks a little bit depressing? One or two tips?
Absolutely, sir. So I think, like Madhav introduced me, I come from the, field where human behavior is something that I, see and I explore. Let it be as a trainer, let it be as a coach or a counselor. So one thing that I've realized is Darwin's theory very much still exists. if we have to survive in today's world, irrespective with COVID or without COVID, one thing we definitely need to do is be flexible and adaptable. It's not about who is the strongest. It is about who is the most flexible person out there who can adapt to different skill set that is really required. And what I would definitely share, and this is pre-COVID. I'm talking about my experience all the way back in, I think around 2009, when my journey was hit because of a lot of industry issues as such. So what I did was I was forced to take up opportunities which I was not open to. And what happened was that opportunity opened up me to become a trainer, became a coach over a period of time, became a counselor over a period of time. Something I will definitely share, what Shraddha already shared, is be multifaceted. That means have multiple skills that will help in your entire growth. That will go a long way to keep you sustained, and be passionate about whatever you choose. So these two things are very important. Be multifaceted in terms of your skills and be passionate. So just don't pick up any skills that is fancy, that everyone is going for, but something that resonates with you, something that you are really, it's close to you. So I think these two things will definitely help, sir.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Then my next question is to the person who actually sees the jobs working in Naukri.com or Rishabh. My question to you is, you are currently having the best view of what is happening to the job market, or how people are attempting and what jobs are really coming up. So from your point of view, Rishabh, what did the crisis change the skills and talents that are needed from the job seeker's point of view and from the employer's point of view? Can you quickly throw some light on the gaps that are there, what employers want and what the job seekers are actually possessing, which may not measure up to what is required? What are those gaps?
First of all, sir, very good evening, and thank you for making me a part of this esteemed panel. And like coming to the question, what I believe is, if you see our jobs redefined to some extent, yes. I'm not talking about some other industries or any particular industry, but if you only see the marketing thing, the people who are into marketing or into sales. So what we used to have a habit of like meeting the client. We used to have a habit of meeting the client, building a rapport with the client, knowing the requirement, and then the sales cycle goes on. But now that thing has changed overnight. So now what we have to do is we have to do all those things through cold, by phones, by phone calls, or by mass mailing. So we have to now build up a content to reach our clients. And we can't meet each and every client through Zoom call or through a Teams meeting or a Slack meeting. To meet the client, we can only meet the clients with whom we have built rapport with through these platforms. And to meet those clients, what we need is a content, a proper content to reach them out and like know what is the requirement, a rapport building, which has to be done virtually, before which we used to do by meeting the client. So now things in marketing, like marketing or sales, have changed. Like what we can see is like industry has slowly moved or drastically moved towards the digital thing. What I believe is the digital thing, which was about to come like 5 years from, has suddenly happened now. Like everyone is turning towards digital or virtual. Everyone is trying to automate the things. So yes, some jobs are redefined to some extent. You have to have some digital skills to survive in the market, and uh, you have to be you have to upgrade yourself in the to serve in the market. And as my previous panelist also said, Ms. Shraddha said, Ms. Nazia ma'am also mentioned that you have to be open up for all opportunities. And like before, we used to say that you have to be let us say like jack of all trades, master of one. But today I believe that you have to be jack of all trades as well as master of some, at least not all, but master of some, to survive in the market. So this is what I believe. So yes, we have seen some in the market.
Yeah,
some
but
jobs are being redefined.
But probably you can just explain to us, are there very, very stark gaps that passing out management students are not having maybe a case of technology or use of Zoom or use of other technological tools? Are there some big shortfalls from the student side when it comes to taking up a job when they go to an employer?
Yes, sir. What I believe is our syllabus and everything is designed in a traditional way. So apart from the syllabus, we have to be skilled with the uh, uh, recent skills which are required in the market. So a student has to know what is the skill required in their respective field to survive in today's market. Let us say in marketing field. In marketing field, a student should know that the digital skills are required apart from the traditional marketing thing. So having only traditional marketing thing and expecting a job in today's scenario might get difficult. So having recent marketing skills will surely make them land up in a job.
Great. I think to that extent, we have quickly learned at GIBS and brought in whatever technology we could. Hopefully, it will help all our students who are passing out. And we also believe that the new generation progressive business schools, which are in the PGDM space, rather than, with no offense to MBA universities, old conservative universities, I think the progressive business schools have caught on to this new requirements and probably gearing themselves much better than the traditional university post graduations. Okay, let me ask Bharti, who is into leadership training, development, and management development, being an employee in such a prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences and CSOL. You must be dealing with a lot of leaders, and it must be a great opportunity for you. But Bharti, is there anything that this COVID and this 1 year has brought in where the leadership requirements and the qualities that leaders have to adapt and change, are there any changes which you have seen and your views on how COVID has brought in those requirements?
Definitely, sir, definitely. So being working with some of the great minds of this country, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, I've been fortunate enough to, learn this thing called empathy. And I strongly believe that the leaders should empathize with their colleagues. Earlier, the approach for leadership was very different. Like we had this tripod approach where there was a leader, there was a follower, and there was a goal. Where the leader used to, ask their followers to achieve the goal. The leader was an influencer, but now we have moved to the collaborative approach, wherein the leader and the other colleagues or the employees of the same organization works together to achieve that goal. So definitely, I was going through some articles and I read that Kevin Cashman, the global head of Korn Ferry, he mentioned that in a crisis, a firm can become survive, and that can provoke fear in many employees. Many leaders right now are saying that I have to act, I have to move forward. But sometimes the desire to thrive, to transform requires you to slow down. The more something is complex, the more you need to go slow to get it right. And the paradox in the crisis is, where do you push, where do you pause, and where do you do both? The empathy here is like you have to be empathetic and as well as executional at the same time to mold your fellow colleagues to achieve the desired goal. So yes, definitely. And we can take example of Zensar Technologies, which is in Pune, and they are coming up with something really nice called Vision Committee, wherein they, once in a year, they pull out all their employees together. And together they all, from every grade or cadre of the organization, be it grade 1 or grade Z, they come out together, they discuss together the strategies to be formulated for the next year. And that's how the leadership style should be. That should be collaborative, taking everyone together so that everyone can sail through this difficult time together as a whole, as a team.
Great.
Right, so.
I mean, it sounds very nice. Our old student of 2017 pass out, interacting with top leaderships and then sharing that knowledge with us is something which we are very, very, very proud of.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Bharti, for that view. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Nazia ma'am, the next question is to you. The sense that we have always talked about the crisis and what all negatives it has done. But you would have seen some big positives during this crisis because from your objective viewpoint, especially when it comes to youngsters. What are those big positives that you have seen? How the youth have adapted to the new normals, and how did they prepare mentally in these tough times? What are your observations and positives during this time?
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage the youngsters have, the millennials, is they are very flexible and adaptable with technology. And I think most people who are very good with technology, they have been able to adapt really fast. And I think online learning has been a great boon because obviously, online learning may not have facilitate the same way in a classroom session where you have people around you to interact and engage with each other. But it definitely facilitated a new way of learning, a new way of looking at things. And I think the youngsters have adapted really well. And what I really appreciate is they have also opened up to this thought process that what the goals can be changed, a newer career can be created, even in a crisis situation. I think like Rishabh and all the panelists were sharing, some of the job vacancies which were considered as very risky or something which is not so in traditional jobs became very, very hot jobs as such, because people and youngsters are very good at taking that particular risk. I think that's the big positive of COVID.
Great. I think so. I'll take give the next question to Rishabh, which is a very, very obvious one. The people who are in Naukri.com will be posed this question. I think every day, every interaction Rishabh must be having with people. This must be a very obvious question. What are the hot jobs of today, and what are the hot roles and functions that people should really look for?
Yes, sir. So what I basically mostly deal with is startups, MSMEs, and from in the previous quarter, what I have seen is the jobs in the digital marketing field, especially digital marketing field and in the sales field, have drastically increased. If you see in manufacturing, the semiconductor industry is also hiring, the IT industry is also hiring, but in FMC, especially in FMCG, the hirings have increased now. And the startups who are mostly into like the market research and market development, they have also seen a drastic change, and they are also started hiring. So the hot, if you ask me, a hot job which is required for the candidate, especially for a MBA or a PGDM, I would say digital marketing is the one, because we can see a drastic requirement in digital marketing, starting from the startups to the big company. Everyone is looking for a digital marketers, especially the search engine optimizers and social media managers in the digital marketing segment. And in other part also, the content writing market has also improved a lot. So there are some jobs in content writing as well. But if to summarize the whole thing, I would say digital marketing and sales has increased. And if sales, it's not the traditional sales, it's like the new sales. Like you have to build up rapport with the client through the mailings or the cold callings, and you have to do a sale over a Zoom call or a Microsoft Teams or Slack, whatever platform it is.
So Rishabh has given the clue: digital marketing, SEOs, and not the traditional sales, but the new generation sales. Gaurav sir, what's your take on that? Are these the hot ones from the technology company point of view?
Yeah, I will continue from where Rishabh left. That's absolutely correct, and these are part of my day-to-day jobs, digital marketing and all. So I can definitely resonate those thoughts. But there's one thing which I keep on getting questions from a lot of students is how important is technology to you? And I would like to draw your attention here is that industry is looking for specialists. Well, obviously, it's always good to be multifaceted, but you will be hired for one particular skill on which you will be working. But that will be your profile, and around that you can build an ecosystem. So, and students many times forget that. meet HR students and I ask them, how will you help companies overcome the challenge of employee onboarding in this era? When people are working from home, how can you motivate people to work from home? How will you do employee engagement? When I meet people about from sales role, and in fact, yesterday I was having a meeting with my North America sales region. One of the topics itself was in this era when a lot of companies have restrictions and sales meetings are not happening, how we ensure that our clients know more about our offerings and purchase from us, so our business does not go down. Now, over here, there is no technology which is going to help you. It is the core. So once again, I will come back to you. How strong are you in your core? Then you can use technology to achieve that goal. I'm not an engineer. I'm not supposed to know how coding is done, but I'm supposed to know how do I build a customer connect, how ensure that I help them move in the customer journey, and whatever is required in that journey. It might be technology, it might be leadership participation, it might be a collaborative innovation. That's how Bharti ma'am also said. I will use all of those. I will use all the weapons in my arsenal to achieve that. So that is very important. Without the core, you will not stand the ground because then you will be swindling. So I'll just give you a quick example of what we are doing. Of late, when we are doing digital marketing, and you can check the LinkedIn handles of Infosys, LinkedIn and Twitter handles of official handles of Infosys, we are coming up with video banners. So of late, our entire proposition has moved around that if we are talking to clients about, say, a cloud solution, we will quickly have 10-second or 15-second video banners communicate the message. Recently, IBM came up with a real-time live white paper. Now, a lot of us have seen PDF white papers. How about seeing a white paper? So there was a white paper about on aviation industry, and when you opened it, it had a plane, an aeroplane zooming in. So immediately it sets up the whole atmosphere, and you can toggle and move around the sections which you want to. So it is an interactive method which you have achieved of reading a white paper. Now, someone may say it is all of technology. True, but technology person has only implemented it. The idea comes from a marketing person or from a content management guy who would have thought how to increase the viewership or readability of the content and not get it lost in the clutter. So once again, I would urge all the management students that technologies like AI, automation, and analytics can be your three go-to after technologies, but they should only be complementing your core, which can be anything, finance, HR, marketing.
So very, very nice message. Focus on the core, build your additional arsenal in the form of technology, whether it is AI or data analytics, but don't lose the focus on core. If you are a HR guy or a marketing guy, stay focused on the core and build on it is what you are saying. Great input, Gaurav sir. Thank you so much. My next question to Shraddha, in your experience, because you deal with clients of, working for Salesforce, you service the clients and you push digitalization, isn't it, for Salesforce.com? What are the big challenges you see in people at large and organizations in particular towards digitalization? And if you have to prepare the youth for digital life going forward, what are the approaches you suggest, Shraddha? And what are the must learns?
Really a great question here. So I think major challenges that I face as a representative of a prominent IT solution company is that it's a natural behavior of human beings to resistance to change. They are so very well comfortable in what they are doing in their day-to-day life or with the systems they are using that they really don't want to move into something new, or it's a really big challenge to adapt to something. So main two things here, one is knowledge and another is fear. So when I say knowledge, the knowledge of how do I adapt to this new technology? Is this software going to be so complex that will I be able to grab it? Will it be so comfortable like software that I'm using today? Is a major question when it comes to people. So they're so comfortable in their own skin. They don't really want to go that extra mile to learn something new, upgrade, so that the further life is easier. No, so that's one challenge which I face. And another is fear. So they are much more scared about how this new technology is going to disrupt the daily flow. Is it secure? Is it not secure? To just give a lighter example, if you see the older generation, like my grandma, for example, she wants me to take her all the way to a bank to get her passbook printed, wherein I can just open up the entire setup on my laptop and tell her this is your balance. But she doesn't really want to believe me because she's like, the banker knows more about it than you.
So are we. So are we.
So the thought of the fear of the new technology and not having adequate knowledge about it is what a major challenge today. So I would suggest the new youth or the youth to be, the MBA grads or the students we are talking about today. They should be more open to adapting. What we are worried about is the small patch of transformation. We are not really looking at the brighter future ahead of the transformation. So if we are okay to adapt the change today, it's going to be really, the outcome is going to be really bigger than what we think, because constant is what, the change is only the constant, I would say.
Thank you so much, Shraddha. Again, when you say change and you'll have to learn new things, my question to Bharti, who's in the learning industry, especially from Tata Institute of Social Studies, social sciences, I turn to her and ask her, what changes personally as a trainer you have made and as an organization TISS has made to be crisis ready and market fit?
So first of all, I think the best thing what I did during my post-graduation was having this project management certification with, of course, GIBS. So that has helped me a lot with my job currently. And yes, like Shraddha has said, the resistance to change was one of the biggest issues or hurdles in front of us. When pandemic hit, as an educational institute, we were like, okay, what is to be done? What's next? Because we cannot go just online, just like that. We believed in the old approach of classroom learning. So it was really very difficult for us, not just for the students, but for the faculties and the employees as well. There was a lot of resistance towards the change and accepting the systems and technologies. Like we developed LMS, our learning module, through systems. It was really very difficult, but then slowly and steadily we could continue it, and we did it. We created a beautiful LMS, and that's how we have done it. Then later part the students were also not very comfortable with the online learning because they were resistant. They were hesitant, okay, how did it will affect us? Then the faculties came in, and they had worked really very hard to make this learning interactive, because it's really very tough to learn in a virtual mode. The person is just continuously teaching us through online mode, and we are the ones who are listening and understanding the stuff. It is not very easy, but yes, we the faculties and the facilitators did their best to impart the knowledge to the students in every possible ways. The change emerged there. Everyone changed their way of thinking. Everyone came up with really different ways of different new approaches towards learning. We had a course called facilitation, wherein we teach students how to teach. And this particular course was happened online. It was something magic for us because we never thought we could be able to do it as an institute. But yes, the facilitators made it happen. So yes, the resistance to change was the biggest hurdle that we had faced in the beginning. But slowly and gradually, everyone accepted okay, now we need to accept the technology, and we need to accept the part that, okay, we have to go virtual. And this is the new normal for us. So that's how we are able to deal with it.
That's great. Great to hear. And though it's not, I'll take the questions that have come up on the panel a little later as we close the panel discussion. But before that, I'm tempted to ask this question to Nazia ma'am, a question coming from one of the participants, R. Prashant. Good evening. All the jobs and sectors are in danger today. There is so much of uncertainty. How to be the fittest to survive in this new normal era? Nazia ma'am, can you throw light on how to be the, so when you talk about survival of the fittest and, how to be the fittest?
Okay, so I think one of the things which is very important, sir, is being technical savvy. Doesn't mean you have to learn coding. Like Gaurav sir shared that, like, you need to be strong with your core, but adapt your core with the technology. So if the students are from the HR background, you have certification courses on HR analytics. So build your base around that. Same thing with finance students. If finance students or any student for that matter do not like MS Excel, start loving MS Excel. Attend those classes, because one thing I know youngsters is they love something that they like, they are passionate about, but when they are forced to do, especially the placements team or the college wants them to do a certificate course, they have a resistance towards that.
You
So
can't escape. You can't escape Excel.
yes, you can't escape Excel in the current trend. It's not about coding. At least the data that is coming your way, you should be able to understand what is it all about, right? So apart from being open to technology, the other aspect that they have to be open to is challenging their own self-limiting thoughts and the self-limiting thoughts of other people who may influence whatever decisions that they are making. These two are very important. Keeping in mind that everything, whether we like it or not, technology is something that will happen. The faster we change, the faster we adapt and adapt it to what we are passionate about, it's going to be a success story.
So choose what is good for you rather than what is that you like. Is something. Yeah, that's a great advice.
So balance. So basically, the balance. Find the balance.
Yeah, great. So, Madhav, as a student, you got so many inputs from these panelists. Some of your questions about what are the challenges that are there ahead as you come out of your business management course.
Yes.
Are they answered 70%, 80%?
Yes, sir.
So, and this how to be the fittest to survive. Nazia ma'am also has given her suggestion. From all the 5 panelists, I want to ask a question which is directed to all. Maybe each one can take a minute or a little more. What, according to you, are the 2 must-haves for career building during crisis? 2 or 3 must-haves. Starting with you, Sir Gaurav.
Okay, whether crisis or no crisis, I would say there's one primary skill which I always believe is the attitude. Our chief marketing officer says attitude is primary, skills are secondary. We will train the person, but hire the person for his attitude or her attitude. So I think that still holds good for me, because if you have attitude to learn, if you have attitude to work in a team, and if you have attitude to deliver, you will sail through in whichever situation. Well, there is no course on attitude, sadly. None of the university offers that. That is something which you have to observe and replicate by following the best practices, and maybe few self-help books or management books can help you. Second thing is, if you really want to drill down on some of the skill sets which someone can pick up, and that can be picked up even without doing a course, is on content. Imagine we are in social media. Everyone is out there on social media. We are disseminating a lot of content, generating a lot of data every day. Why don't you all start writing a blog? Why don't you all, someone wrote that all jobs are in danger. Why don't you write a blog on it? Why don't you post it on your Blogspot account and gather views? And then apply an analytics and measure it's working or not. Why don't you put this comment on an email and do an email marketing? Why don't you try to think that new business models which have come up and generate content on it? So content writing is something which all of us need from all the 3 sectors, HR, finance, and marketing, which is required. And the second thing is analytics. Why I will say analytics is, now there are 2 sides of the analytics. One are the people who work on analytics programs, and other are ones who can decipher and interpret the analytical reports. So it is high time that we should become comfortable with number crunching, try to infer analytics, and try to make them tangible recommendation, convert them into tangible recommendations. So yes, this will be my attitude, content writing, and analytics.
Analytics. So the 2 must, analytics, data analytics is must. So not so good things are probably something that they'll have to embrace now. Yeah, Shraddha, your take to must-haves.
I think Gaurav sir has covered most of it, but I would stick to the 2 points which I had said earlier. That is building up your skills. Having knowledge of about something, is always great. And as Gaurav sir said earlier as well, have your core in place and build up the technology on it. So your base needs to be strong, and how you build up, it's as simple as like having a brick and mortar house, and then how do you decorate it?
Yeah.
Exactly. How do you build the interiors? How do you put in the facilities? So that is what a technology would do to your house. That is what a technology would do to your career. How fancy you make it with the help of the technology. So I think knowledge, skills, and technology is the major
Must-haves.
yes, must-haves.
Rishabh?
Yes, as previously said by Mr. Gaurav and Nazia ma'am, that what I believe is you should be tech savvy. So if you want to survive in today's market, then you have to be tech savvy. And the next thing is the content, because content is the thing which will actually connect you with your customer in today's scenario. So the content thing, and you have to be tech savvy. These are the two major skills I believe you should have to survive in the market.
Great. Nazia ma'am?
So I agree with the panelists. So what I would definitely share is I continue with technology, be tech savvy. So if you are a HR student, HR analytics is something that you have to have under your forte. People into finance, BA, business analytics, you have to be familiar with. Marketing, like Rishabh already shared, be familiar with digital marketing. And to add on is, because at the end of the day, technology is one part of it. You will be interacting with people. What you definitely need to have is emotional intelligence that connect, ability to control your own emotions, ability to control other people's emotions, so that in a critical situation, you make the right decision. You're leading people with passion and not letting your emotions run loose. So those are the things that I will share. Tech savviness as well as emotional intelligence. Ability to understand that technology is technology, but also have the right mindset to use it.
Very, very psychologist in you coming out, the emotional intelligence and its importance. Very, very nicely said, madam. And Bharti, your take.
Right, sir. I agree with all the co-panelists. And as I deal with students on a day-to-day basis, I strongly feel that right attitude is the key to success. Like Gaurav sir said, right attitude is absolutely a must. That's the basic necessity for you to get through. And then I would say that yes, skill set. You should not restrict yourself to one particular domain only. Suppose a person who has done coding, if that person can learn design thinking, then that person can be a UI specialist, user interface specialist. So you should not restrict yourself to one particular domain only, and you should be open to learn different. And it's a beautiful thing when you learn something new. So you should definitely try that. And yes, you should follow your passion. If you're interested in dancing, you should go pursue it and explore the field. If you're interested in singing, do what you feel like, because unless you're not interested, you cannot succeed. You can definitely not succeed and definitely not grow. So you should follow whatever your heart says and wherever you are interested in. So
Great.
that's my take, sir.
Thank you so much. Passion. Yeah. Well, I think we are just about a few minutes away to close, and we need to block some time for the question answers. But then I'm tempted to ask the three terrific trio of Bharti, Rishabh, and Shraddha. I think the participants will connect more with you than others, not without any discredit to the intellect of others. But you are young, you are trendsetters, you are trailblazers in a way. So one last question for you. Maybe if you speak and tell that these are my next 3 to 5 year career goals, I think probably people also can connect with you, and they probably can understand how a person in the industry who's moving fast is looking at next 3-5 years, we are talking about challenging times, crisis times, but how are successful young people planning their next 3-5 years? Rishabh, maybe you can start first.
Yes, so as I said previously, and I have said many times in this discussion, so if you ask me where I want to see myself in next 5 years, like I am developing skills as a social media manager, because I want to be a social media specialist. Because we call it, especially in India, like we call India a young country, and almost all the youths are in front of the screen, and almost all the youths and the professionals are in social media. And so social media is the next marketplace, I believe. And like to promote a product, or you say to promote a concept, anything, like social media is the best thing to do that. So I believe in future it is going to it is going to be one of the major source for marketing as well as sales. So social media specialist is what I'm looking for as my next career option. And but I'll never disagree that the traditional sales is going to disappear. No, it will not. Traditional sales is going to be there. But yes, as Gaurav sir has also said, that you have to stick to your course and be adaptable to the technology as well. So this is it.
Bharti, where do you see yourself next 3-5 years in terms of career ambitions or plans?
So, like I said, I am a person who follows the interest, not the traditional approach of going ahead in life. I follow my interest and I follow my passion. So I am fortunate enough to be a part of the institute where I'm working with some really great minds and learning a lot about different things, not just one area, but yes, different areas of the industry. So yes, definitely I would like to go ahead with that, and L&D would be my area of exploration, I would say right now. And definitely I am planning to move ahead there in that particular way.
Yeah. L&D, I think is always evergreen, and you will stay firm and grow from there. Very fine.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. Shraddha, you are in Salesforce.com.
So it's when we talk about Salesforce, it's really, really fast moving organization at a pace where I could grab 4 promotions in 4 years. And
Wow.
another 5 years, if you would ask me a year back, maybe in 2019 December, I would say, so my ambition is to get another 2-3 promotions and get to the director level and so on. But after seeing last year, my take would be, one single source of income is not really a great idea to sustain with. So yeah, I am planning to branch out, and from cloud business to cloud kitchen is what I'm doing right now.
Oh.
So yeah, based out of Bangalore. So I recently launched my own cloud kitchen, and opening it in April around the second week. And yeah, so my take was, what you learn is, I learned a lot in the last year. I learned that the Corona, or the work from home facility is great, and I would not say that it is the growth has stopped because of not able to work from office, or it has confined the limits or something like that. I would say it gave me an opportunity to go ahead and start something new of my own. So today, being an employee also, along with being an entrepreneur, is something I'm looking at.
Great. We will definitely try your cuisine.
Surely, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, Pradeep sir, I think we have completed. We have come to 6 o'clock. What I'll do is, Madhav, we have some questions coming from the participants. With your permission, Madhav, I'll ask the question posed by Vinay Nair. If you discover another profitable skill or interest, how would you make a career pivot in a down market? Maybe Gaurav sir, you can take this question. If you discover another profitable skill or interest, how would you make a career pivot in a down market?
Okay. Now, one basic rule to understand over here is, whether it's down market or up market, the skill or your business idea should be sustainable and scalable over a period of time. As let me take it from the principles of design thinking: feasibility, viability, and scalability. So these 3 pillars should be intact. So, for example, let me give you a very quick example. There are so many modes of transport from point A to point B. bus, cab, train, metro. Who would have thought that coming up with Yulu cycles or Bounce scooter or Vogo will survive and clock it 3 crores of revenue last year? Why? Because there was an impending gap in the consumer market because of which it sustained. Therefore, if you are if you even if you're in the down market, try to understand which are the areas which are going down, how you can make a collaborative business model to help to prevent further drop, and then make it scalable over a period of time. And that will differ from business idea to business idea. But stay true to these tenets.
Great. Thank you. Vivek Singh, one of the participants, is asking a question. What is good for management students? Business or job? Nazia ma'am, maybe you can take this.
So I think at the end of the day, Vivek, what's important is what makes you happy. What are your passion? Is it you having your own dream and vision taking a shape, or do you want to work under someone and help meet the organization's expectation, have that particular vision broaden? So at the end of the day, you need to figure out what triggers you or what makes you happy, and that based on that you need to decide whether you are a person who would like to see yourself independent, shape your own dreams, design your own castle, or you would like to go ahead and design someone else's castle and help them reach their the topmost pinnacle.
Great. I think that the next questions, or I think set of 2-3 questions, I'll merge and ask Rishabh. I think they are basically marketing students, how to make a strong profile, which are the skills that marketing students, I think Rishabh has told that digital is one, but is there anything you can add to that in terms of there is so much of competition in sales and marketing? How can you be different as a student or as a candidate is what Rishabh probably you can.
Yes, so for marketing students, I would say that knowing the industry, a student should have an idea about all the industries, all the relatable industries they are working with. Like if you are a marketing student and you say that I am working for, let's say I am working for a particular type of industry, you should be also knowledgeable about the other industries which are relatable to it. As if you are a marketing executive, let's say in an IT firm, you should also know what is happening in the semiconductor industry. That's what I want to do. So being a marketing student, you should be knowledgeable about almost everything in the market. You should have an idea about almost everything in the market. So that is the thing which will help you grow in the market. I'm very new to the industry. I'm only 2 years experience, but still what I have experienced from my colleagues and working in sales is you have to know everything about the industry. Like I'm into recruitment, so I have to know all the industries, how all the industries are performing. I'm in the recruitment industry, so I have to know how all the industries are performing so that I can plan my business. I can plan which industry to target, what set of companies should I target so that I can get business. So this is what it is. And yes, the digital skills as well, especially the SEO and the SMM and the content writing.
Okay. Those are the great differentiators. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Maybe this question I'll ask Bharti. She's in the learning and development. In future, mobile, virtual school, colleges, will they be there for many years to come? What's your
Of course, sir. Of course, they'll be there. The traditional approach of teaching will never go away, and I strongly believe that they are that's the best way of teaching and learning as well. So of course they'll be there. They'll be there, and we should always focus on the right skill set and develop ourselves. Like Nazia ma'am mentioned about Excel. So that's the basic for any management student. Excel is the basic need. And along with Excel, if you can learn softwares like Tableau or R, that's add on to your CV. So you should definitely explore that. And like Rishabh was also mentioning, that the person should have in and out knowledge. Yeah, definitely. It's the core of a person to grow. So yes, conditional way of teaching will definitely be there. This online or virtual mode of teaching is just for this pandemic, and I hope it gets over soon and we go back to the normal way of teaching.
Yeah.
So yes, that will be definitely there. Yeah.
One other question from Srisha is, if you are a beginner in LinkedIn and other social media? Maybe Gaurav sir can answer this. If beginner in LinkedIn and other social media, and you want to create a good HR based, profile, how exactly you can build? Because everyone these days are highly educated, they have great resumes, CVs. So again, how can you build a good profile for yourself?
It is a question very similar to asking, how do you create a new niche in a 5 minutes interview? Everyone's got 5 minutes. How do you differentiate yourself? Well, I will give one answer, but then I would like to request Bharti ma'am and Rishabh and Nazi ma'am to add on because they are more closer to the HR space. My side of the story is be a storyteller. While everyone only uploads their resume certifications, what is your story? If you can summarize to me who you are and how you will, what value do you bring to me, I don't need anything else to look at. So be a very good storyteller. If you can share that maybe in 5 lines, very strong, impactful 5 lines, you're sold. And I would definitely stick to your profile. Others can add on.
Good.
Yeah,
Good
that's
storytelling.
that's a very valid point actually, and that's a beautiful point which Gaurav sir has mentioned, that you should show what impact you have created, not just the job which you are doing, but out of that job, what impact you have created in the organization. That's the main highlight of your CV. And in the LinkedIn, I feel that it's a blue ocean strategy wherein you can keep sharing stuff and keep writing stuff. It's a platform when you can show yourself completely.
Get it.
So it's a big platform wherein everyone should write and keep sharing posts and keep yourself active on LinkedIn. That's really helpful.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, in fact, I was told by one of the senior HR person in recent one of the panel discussions that the standard question that young management graduates are asked is, tell me about yourself. And what you should have is a good storytelling. If you can't tell your own story properly, then, or if you look at the positively, if you tell your own story properly, you are done with interview 50-60% very well. So storytelling is one skill probably that's required. Maybe the last question or last but one, Pradeep sir, with your timing. I believe recession brings out progression. Lakshay Bhatt says the most profitable business came out during the recession and it keeps on repeating. What do you think about that? Anyone, Shraddha or Gaurav sir, anybody for that matter? Who will take this recession?
So
Yeah,
I'll just take, because I was sharing at the beginning of the panel discussion that my journey when as a fresher got impacted because of recession. But I would always say recession is more like a rubber band. It just, and then once the momentum is let go of, then you have more impact. So recession is one of the things that you can't control. But definitely it gives you that momentum to go forward. Things will always change, and the faster you adapt, the better.
Anything you want to add, Gaurav sir?
Yeah, I truly agree with the Nazia ma'am, as she rightly said. But see, one thing which we need to understand is business is a cycle, and recession is a form of a cycle. If there is a downtime, there's an uptime also. So you need to ensure that you invest in for the right times.
Yeah.
It may not be the time for the yield. It may be the time for investment, skill upgradation, or it may be time to maybe do some internships, field projects, and then ensure that finally when the up market is there, you are able to capitalize on the knowledge you have gained during the recession time. So don't think recession is a time of depression and hopelessness. It is the time for you to rejuvenate yourself.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think one concluding this thing. I think one question is about AI. Artificial intelligence is future, and how is it going to be the in thing going forward? Is a question from Anirban Sarkar.
Yeah, Shraddha ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. I think as we talk about technology, there has always been a revolution here. Basic things like having a Siri or Alexa at home is nothing but an AI, and we are so used to the AI already that we are not even realizing how fast we are moving into the AI world, right? Basic things like setting up your reminders through a Siri, putting in all the schedules of yours on a calendar, or maybe the ACs which you have in your house, which adjust the temperature accordingly. These basic things are AI. So while we talk a big time about AI, we are already into that era, and I think with the circumstances in which we are today, with the corona and stuff, and how life has changed and how the way we are looking at technology, it's gonna be completely AI driven. I think that would be the not future. I think that is the present already.
Great. Thank you so much. I think we have overshot the time. Thank all the panelists, Gaurav sir, Nazia ma'am, Bharti, Shraddha, and Rishabh for their excellent contributions to this topic of COVID-19 and the challenges and the career options and career building during crises, especially for the management students. All your inputs are worth gold for the students and aspirants and people who are completing business management studies, whether it's PGDM or any other postgraduate program. As a moderator, I enjoyed listening to you, and I am richer with this 1 hour of continuous supply of great thoughts. Thank you so much. And I'm sure the participants all over India have benefited from this panel discussion that GIBS always does in a series of leadership talks, panel discussions from people who are doing well in industry and academia. Thank you so much for joining, and I thank all the participants for joining. As is our normal practice, we will share the e-certificate of participation in the next 4-5 days. It will come to your registered mail ID, and we look forward for your participation in our future seminars, webinars, and panel discussions of this sort. Thank you so much for joining, and thank all the panelists for their valuable contribution and what you call role they played today. And thank you, Madhav, for hosting all of us. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I would like to add something.
Yeah, please.
So on behalf of all my fellow students, so I would like to thank each and every one of you coming from a student. And the key takeaways from this day are actually industry and opportunity are the same side of a coin. It is said by Shraddha ma'am. And next, we have to build ourselves and go for what we want to go to without any inhibitions. Next, as Nazia ma'am said, it is based on Darwin theory, survival of the fittest. So we have to constantly update ourselves to stay in the field. And ma'am also focused on adaptability. So next, Rishabh sir said about being jack of all. It's not about just being jack of all trades, but also being a master of some. Next, ma'am, Bharti ma'am spoke about empathy and collaborative approach, which we have to always keep in our mind. It's not just us growing as an individual, but growing as a group.
Great.
Next, ma'am also focused on how strong is your core. So we have to add technology to what we are, what we know, what is our field in. And it's not just technology which is important. We have to focus on our core and use technology to grow. So that's also. Thank you.
And you forgot Excel. Don't forget.
Yes, Excel. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank all the participants and the panelists. It was a pleasure hosting you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.